Navigating the job search and interview process is stressful enough, but trying to explain a gap in your resume, well, that's a whole nother thing. There's an endless number of reasons why you might have needed to take a break from your career. So in today's video, we're going to share some different ways to address that on your resume, and then also share a few different recruiters' perspectives on the subject. Before we get started though, make sure to check out the Teal Resume Builder for an awesome way to manage and write your resumes. We'll be using it in today's video so you can see it in action. There's also some fantastic AI assisted tools with the upgrade to a Teal Plus subscription, which help with some of that blank page frustration of resume writing. So anyways, let's get into it. A gap on your resume is by definition any time between jobs. Typically, it's more of a thing though if the timeline is 6 months or more. But in the last 3 or 4 years with an ever increasingly unstable job market, hiring teams are a bit more forgiving on employment gaps. It is still a concern to some. Things like software and skills move at a rapid pace. But if you are being rejected entirely because of a resume gap, something like that is someone's own bias. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it, but as we'll show later on, sometimes that's kind of a good thing. Now, you should always be ready to answer the question of why you had a resume gap, no matter if it's on your resume or not. So just keep that in mind. But here's 3 ways to actually address a resume gap on your resume. We're gonna hop into the Teal Resume Builder. We have Tina Miller's resume here. She's Teal's demo job seeker. And the first way to address a resume gap is to not address it. Leave that information off your resume entirely, list your jobs as you would, and again, just be prepared to talk about it if asked in an interview. The second way to address a gap is to add it to your resume almost like you would another role. You can title it like a gap or a career break or a sabbatical, and if you did grow your skills during this time, this is a great place where you can talk about it. Talk about what you learned, how you went about learning it, and if you completed entire projects during this time, add those to the project section of your resume, as long as, of course, they are related to your industry. And the third way to address a resume gap is reformatting your resume to what's called a hybrid format. This is a reordered resume that's more aimed at highlighting skills first and then your work experience, and can do a bit to hide any gaps in your employment. It is super easy to do this with the Teal Resume Builder. Once you have your resume written out, go up here to the formatting tab and then down to section order and just bring those skills up above work experience. And that's it. Nice and easy, and you're done. Now that's a few ways how you can address a gap in your career on your resume. But if you're wondering what that looks like from the perspective of a recruiter, we interviewed a few on what they had to think about the subject, and we wanted to share that with you. So first up is Kristen Fife, senior recruiter and career strategist. She said, don't go too much into detail about the gap. Don't open that door. Label it as a sabbatical if it was less than a year, or cover it with any relevant ways how you've kept up with your skills during your time away. What you don't want to do though is try to overemphasize unrelated activities as professional activities. Next up is Mike Pedito, recruiter and consultant. He says to address it head on in a straightforward way as that most recent item in your work experience. That way, people who won't hire you because of a gap won't waste your time. Nothing you were going to potentially say in an interview was going to change their mind. But if you do get an interview, that's a good sign. You got the interview even with addressing the gap, so that should be the end of having to talk about it. Next up, Linda Lee, a recruiter and content creator. She takes a bit of a personal approach to resume gaps. As someone who has had negative experiences for having them, she never brings them into conversation or even consideration. She says that having a gap has nothing to do with someone's ability to do the task, and any company who shames you for having a gap does not deserve you. And finally, Matt Herndon, senior recruiter, said in a similar way, would you even want to work for someone who didn't like that you had career gaps? Don't feel shame about it. Speak about them with confidence, and that way the right company for you will be the one that hires you. So as you can see, there's not one way that recruiters think about gaps on a resume, which means there's not one right way for you to address it. It is kind of dealer's choice there. We showed off a few options, so however you choose to do so, again, be ready to talk about it in an interview if that happens. But either way, own your career gap. Speak about it with confidence, look for the right company to hire you, and if you have any further questions on resume gaps, absolutely let us know. That's going to do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Check out Teal's Resume Builder and the great features here available on both the free plan and part of the Teal Plus upgrade. And until next time, take care.